Dateless in San Francisco is another really good episode of Full House. This is the 17th episode of the 8th and final season. This is directed by Joel Zwick, and as always there will be spoilers from now. As I go through the episode and share some thoughts, I'll talk about each part of the narrative in turn. The introduction establishes the Valentine's theme very quickly as Jesse, Nicky and Alex are cutting out some paper hearts for Becky, which is very, very sweet. And then Joey goes to the classroom with Mrs. Carruthers, and obviously Michelle's class has just some really wonderful characters. I love Michelle's friendship group. And the class sold the most candy bars at the food drive, so they get a Valentine's Day party. Obviously he's very excited about this, and they decide, Michelle's friends group decide that they're going to have dates for this Valentine's dance, this Valentine's Day party. And the kids kind of pair themselves up, and they're now boyfriend and girlfriend, and Michelle is with Teddy. I love Teddy. I don't know why they made the decision for Teddy to leave. I wonder if the actor maybe moved away or was unavailable for work. In fact, I'm going to check. Okay, I didn't look too much into it, but some people are speculating the same things. Either Taj Mowry had other projects, or he was just stepping away for a bit to do other things. Either way, bringing him back was just a fantastic, fantastic decision. But unfortunately, Michelle and Teddy are not really ready to be boyfriend and girlfriend. They don't really know what to do. It gets really awkward. It's very funny. And what ultimately happens is they make up at the party, and they decide to be friends, and ultimately everybody's dancing, and it's an absolute joy. And I think there's a nice lesson there, that you don't have to be boyfriend and girlfriend to hang out with somebody. You can be friends. That's absolutely fantastic, and it's very sweet, and I think that they're absolutely adorable. Also, Michelle's jumper in this, her sweater she's wearing, it's absolutely gorgeous. I think there'll be a picture of it on screen. I thought it was a fabulous outfit choice. Then we come to a little bit of Danny, but mostly Becky and Jesse. And Danny is dating Claire, and Jesse and Becky are, in Jesse's words, so far into the relationship that they don't need grand gestures. I'm generalising, but that's how Jesse feels. And Becky is not fully on board with this. She still thinks they should celebrate Valentine's Day. They should still do something special for each other. But little does she know, Jesse has a fabulous surprise. And I would bet, if you're watching this for the first time, I'd seen this before, so I knew what was coming, but I fully imagine that the first time I watched this, I had no idea what was going to happen. Because towards the end of the episode, the reveal is so beautiful. Jesse leads Becky to the backyard, and I think that the assumption would be that there's going to be a picnic table, there'll be candles, there'll be beautiful lights, maybe there'll be some lovely music. No, it's a hot air balloon. And I have to say, I've never been in a hot air balloon. Quite a small hot air balloon, of course, but I've never been in one. But I imagine it's quite tricky to land it with such precision. Obviously, it's in the studio. It's just a balloon that goes up and down. But it was just such a beautiful reveal, and Becky had no idea, and it was absolutely gorgeous. I also like the fact they could have taken this a different direction. Becky could have been really hurt by Jesse's words. They could have got into a big argument. But that wasn't really what happened, and I'm really glad they didn't cause too much animosity there. I think they took the great approach by showing that Becky had a different opinion, but without making it too negative and too heavy. And then, of course, we have the beautiful reveal, and the balloon just kind of goes up, and then we get a shot of San Francisco with the balloon in the air, and it's beautiful. It's very, very well done. And also, I love that Danny was dressed very smartly, but he also had a backpack of supplies, which I loved. Very, very Danny Tanner. And then Joey has a small storyline as well. Joey is receiving gifts from an anonymous admirer, because it's Valentine's Day. And I think, again, it's fair for people to assume that this is probably Mrs. Carruthers. I think that would be the safe bet. But we find out quite quickly when Joey goes to the classroom to help out with his Valentine's Day party that actually it's Cindy, the other teacher. And I feel like that was maybe a little obvious. I think that thinking it was Mrs. Carruthers was the obvious choice, but it was maybe a bit too obvious because they're trying to build a bit of suspense with wondering who it is. And if it's the obvious person, not much of a reveal. So I think that it was an interesting part of the narrative, and it's nice for Joey to have an admirer. We haven't really had, I think I mentioned this recently, but we haven't really had that much focus on Joey. In fact, in general, we haven't really had a lot of focus on Joey. It's almost always Jesse, actually. A little bit of Danny, but not much on Joey. And in a way, that's unfortunate. But at the same time, if Joey got into a serious relationship, they'd have to move somebody else into the house, but it's already a full house. But obviously, when we get to Fuller House, we realise things might get even more intense. But I wish we had more time with Joey, but what we get is still fabulous. It's a really sweet episode. It's really lovely. There's nothing about it that I didn't enjoy. I thought it worked really, really well, and ultimately, no problems with it. I think it's safe to say Dateless in San Francisco is a very sweet episode of Full House.